All right, there we go. Well, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. We got just after 1:30 here. So thank you everybody for joining us today. Today's VetBiz webinar, Marketing Your Mission, Branding on a Budget. For those of you who may be new to VetBiz, our mission is to empower veterans, service members, and military spouses to start, grow, and succeed in business from idea to exit through one-on-one training, one-on-one business counseling, and resource connections. We help our clients turn their ideas into thriving ventures. Today's session is all about helping you craft a compelling brand, attract your ideal customer, and build a strong visual identity without breaking the bank. So we're excited to welcome our guest presenter, Will Hanke. He's an Air Force veteran, search engine optimization expert, and founder of Red Canoe Media and Window Treatment Marketing Pros. Will brings years of experience in digital marketing and specializes in helping small businesses get seen online through practical and budget-friendly strategies. He's here to share actionable insights you can start applying right away to build your brand and market your mission effectively. So now I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to kick it over to Will Hanke. So with that, please join me in welcoming Will Hanke.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That was quite an intro. Almost sounds like I wrote it and gave it to you, probably, right? So cool. Thank you guys for jumping on. I love the opportunity to be able to share with veterans. Today we're going to be talking all about branding on a budget, and mostly digging into brand related stuff, the why, the how, that kind of stuff related to it. So real quick about myself, as he already said, 20 plus years, 28 years, and going specifically in the digital marketing world. So helping businesses grow, through helping them be able to be found on Google, Yahoo, Bing, those sorts of things. And now lately, Chat GPT as well. We're starting to get clients that are actually being found through chat, which is just crazy. So ever evolving, always changing, and excited to be here and help you guys. Real quick, let's start with a question. When you hear the word branding, what comes to your mind? We've only got a couple people here, so maybe you guys can unmute and give us your thoughts.
I guess when I think branding, I'm thinking like something that's like functional, but also like catchy.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I like that.
When I think of branding, I think of it's like my public persona. What is going before me before I even show up.
Perfect. I love that. That's really good. Cool. All right. Well, so thank you guys for sharing. What we're going to talk about today, and we'll probably dive into some of the things that you guys mentioned, what it really means, and obviously what it isn't, common mistakes that can, kind of weaken your overall message and your branding, some frameworks that you guys can apply and start working on, some tools and things that are free, that you can use to start working through some of this stuff as well. And some of these you may be aware of, some of them you may not. But for me, what branding really is obviously your reputation, your promise, and your story. It is kind of the big picture piece of your business overall. And I love this quote. It's the feeling people have about your business when you're not in the room, right? I love that quote. If you're thinking about Coca-Cola, right? Immediately you either have a positive or negative reaction to that brand overall. If you're a Pepsi person, then maybe you don't like it as much, right? But for the most part, when you think of a brand, this is what you think of, immediately you have some sort of reaction to it, which is great. Obviously, this boils down to every interaction that every customer or potential prospect has with your business, every email, every ad, every phone call, every interaction at the end of the day, shapes your overall brand for your business. An example that my team put together was two barbecue shops. One is family owned and the other one feels corporate, right? You can imagine two very different types of shops, but at the end of the day, they're both serving you barbecue. But it depends on how you want to interact with that brand, first of all, how you as a customer would interact with that brand, and how you think about that brand when you're considering going to a barbecue shop in this particular case. Um, some people don't mind the corporate or maybe the quick serve, get it done. Some people like the family, and different people might like different things at different times of the day or month or something like that. But just an example for you guys. Now, when it comes to what branding is not, it's not just your logo and your colors, right? And a lot of times when we start getting our business going, that's the first thing we need to figure out, right? We got to figure out our branding. And in your mind, a lot of times that just means what font are we going to use? What is our logo? What colors should we stick with? And definitely that is part of it, right? I mean, to be fair, that's a part of it, but it is not the entire. It is not the entire brand overall. Um, Also, when it comes to doing that, it's not just a one-time design project. Brands do evolve as time goes on. Uh, I used the Coca-Cola example earlier. Remember New Coke, right? When New Coke came out, that was a huge failure, and Coca-Cola kind of reversed everything they did. We've seen examples recently of, what was it, Cracker Barrel, that changed their logo, right? Although it didn't change much. But things do evolve over time. You just got to be careful with when you're making these different brand related change. And at the end of the day, it's not about being fancy. It's about being consistent. One of the things that go on as time goes on and you're getting your business name out there to more and more people is it starts to become recognizable. And typically you also become recognizable and immediately in somebody's brain ties to that brand, right? So, keeping it consistent is a huge part of everything that you should be doing, and always staying on point, always trying to show the brand in the best way that you can is very important piece of this. Another thing that it's not is advertising. It is what makes your advertising work, right? It is the formula behind it, but it's not just the advertising itself. So the way that you design your ads, the things that you say, all reflect back ultimately to your brand as well. If marketing is asking someone on a date, then branding is why they say yes. I love that quote. It's all about the perception of the business or the brand. And do they trust? Do they, what is it? Know, like, and trust you, right? This is a big piece of that puzzle. And again, back to consistency, keeping it consistent all the time obviously is going to help with that. So any questions or comments so far?
I think one of my questions was jumping in that advertising side, where I was just trying to think of ways to coordinate advertising campaign with like your SEO and what that might mean, and um, maybe a couple other points too. But I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So an easy way to maybe talk about that is, are you competing on price? Or you competing on quality, right? And those are going to reflect back into your ads. If you start a conversation with a prospect saying, hey, we've got 25% off this month, then you're immediately starting that pricing uh, conversation right off the bat, and they're going to perceive you that way. So, depending on how you want to set yourself apart, you might want to start out with something related to quality, right? We have the best products or the best services versus we have discounts and coupons, right? So that's a big part of the overall advertising, is just how you position yourself. Does that help you, Sean? Does that move you in the right direction, or?
I guess we were talking more branding, not SEO. So yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. So, any other questions before I continue? Okay, good. So why branding matters, and some of this is going to be obvious. You guys kind of shared some of these reasons already, but especially when you're trying to do this on a budget and really ramp up your business, a clear brand really gives you focus and direction. Obviously, it does on the side of fonts and colors and logo and building your website and that kind of stuff. But it also gives you direction on some other things related to how you present yourself. If we go back to talking about presenting yourself based on price or quality or some other benefit related to doing business with you, it definitely gives you focus and direction, and it starts to help you understand how you should be talking to people on the phone, how you should be engaging with them, and in a positive or a negative way. But it definitely gives you some sort of direction. And at the end of the day, the thing that I mentioned earlier, people really buy trust, not just the price. In my opinion, you really should stay away from valuing yourself or positioning yourself specifically on price, because the higher quality customers are going to purchase on other things besides that. In this case, trust is a big factor here. So seeing your brand over and over, if we talk about social media and SEO, as Sean mentioned up, all of these different ways that we can touch people, especially from the digital side, all of these different touch points are ultimately building trust for your business, where they don't have to necessarily even be concerned about the price because they know that you're the best option. Now, when you can't outspend, you can't outstory. I have clients that are going up against some big brands, right? And basically unlimited budgets. So how in the world do we compete in that world? A lot of the bigger brands, in whatever industry you happen to be in, they're not paying attention to some of the minutia, right? And there are definitely ways that you can, in this case, outstory them. It could be, in this example, that you put a lot of effort into your YouTube channel, creating video, creating value for these potential prospects that are out there. And when they go to look at what the big brand is saying they can do versus what you can do, you can outstory them and provide some additional value that maybe they aren't as agile to move and provide some of these things. Now, when we talk about branding, we basically put what we call the 3 C's together, and let's jump into those. So the first is clarity. Know who you are and what you stand for. And this is something that you could put into ChatGPT, for instance, and basically start a conversation around, here's what we stand for. Obviously, here's our products, here's our services, but also this is the type of culture that we want to build. This is some of our core values that we think we would like to have in place. And just having that conversation of building out, what does our business really look like from this standpoint of knowing exactly who you are, what you stand for, and then documenting those. Is anybody here using or running like EOS or anything like that on your business? No, you guys are looking at me like I'm crazy, right? Okay, cool. EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. There's a book called Traction that I would highly recommend that you grab. It is an absolutely fantastic book. And no matter where you are in the business, the book is definitely worth reading and perhaps even implementing some of the basics around building out your core values, figuring out what those are and documenting those. And then, having those in front of you when you're hiring, when you had talking about your current employees, if you have employees as well, and understanding who you are and who you really want the business to be, so that it can grow and continue in that direction. Donovan, were you looking for your traction book there? Is that what you were doing?
I actually was. I thought it was right next to me. I was gonna pop it up and show it to you, but I must have moved it.
Fantastic book. Definitely recommend that you guys check that out if you haven't read it all. It's by a guy named Gino Wickman, and a great book. Even if you aren't able to implement EOS as a system, it's fairly expensive to kind of hire somebody to come in and do it. But there are plenty of ways to self-implement some of the steps involved in there, such as building out your accountability chart, building your core values, those types of things you can do no matter what size your business is. Number two, or of the three, is consistency. We kind of mentioned this already, and this goes to all of the things that you do. Advertising obviously is a big one. If you have a truck or a van or something like that, making sure that that matches, really just keeping everything consistent. Another thing that I'll mention here is something that we call AdSense. And I think I mentioned this later on, but one thing that I've seen, a lot of people that come to us, they're running Google ads, for instance, right? And you read the ad and then you click on the ad and it dumps you to a page that doesn't feel the same as the ad that you just read. So the scent is different, right? It smells a little different than what I thought I was jumping into. A lot of times people will run Google ads and just dump people to their homepage in a very optimized way. You should run an ad that dumps to a landing page that talks about the same thing, right? So it stays consistent. The brand message is the same. And no matter which page they land on, the layout is the same. If we're just going to talk about the physical way that things look, logo is always in the top left, phone number is always in the top right. Those types of things, just from a physical looking at it standpoint, keeping it consistent. And then if you're not competing on price, you shouldn't have ads that are running at 20% off or something like that, right? So keep the message uniform as well, and make sure that whenever you're running an ad or writing content for your site, that looks the same, feels the same, smells the same when they actually click on that and land on it. And again, back to core values, that it matches the ultimate core values that you're after for your business. And then number three is all about connection. So a lot of times people don't necessarily always make their purchase decisions purely on whether it is the right choice or the practical choice. There's always those emotions in there as well. So keeping that in the forefront for you when you're going to build out your brand is important as well. So make sure that you have some sort of emotional resonance with your audience, and pick something out, whether it is supporting a veteran type of organization, or pets, or whatever it happens to be, that you have some sort of emotional reason for being in business, and that you talk about that, and that you share that as well, that you're a real business. You're not just some corporation, right? That's super rigid. But building out that emotional piece can both attract additional prospects your way and also repel some prospects that maybe aren't the best fit for your business, that maybe would end up canceling or asking for refunds or whatever it happens to be down the road. So building that emotional piece can be really important as well. For my business, I do a ton of video. I've got well over 1,000 videos on my YouTube channel, all around providing content for my prospects. So they know me very well. I just was at a conference last week in Indianapolis, and people would come up and say, "Oh, Will, how you doing? Will, how you doing?" I had no idea who they were, right? But because of that branding, because of that consistent YouTube channel, those types of things, they felt that connection with my business, and those things help. It takes time. It's hard to quantify that, but it's definitely a real thing. Any questions on the 3 C's? Okay, cool. So some common branding mistakes. I wanted to go through some of these because I've seen these happen. Changing your style or logo too often. When I was going through this slide that my team put together, I love all the different versions that this guy came up with. Lots of different ways to go about creating the same thing. And now he looks like he's holding a new one in his hand, the latest idea that he had. But keep it consistent. I think kind of hammered that home already, but very, very important to always keep it consistent so people know exactly who they're dealing with. Another thing that we'll see is businesses that aren't sure how to get started. And instead of going through that exercise around who are we and what do we stand for, instead of doing that, they just go look at the competitors and see what the competitors are doing, and then just try to kind of emulate that. And then you just become another one of the mix doing kind of the same stuff. And the whole idea here is to build a business that can stand on its own, has its own values, and is basically built to emulate what you were hoping to accomplish at the end of the day. So definitely, obviously, don't really go out and look at competitor stuff and then just copy it. Definitely want to try to be different. Inconsistent tone and visuals. This goes back to things like AdSense, or your landing pages don't look like your website, or your social media is all over the place and it doesn't match just the colors of the other things that you're doing. So just keeping all of that in one place and making sure that it always lines up with the ultimate brand. In this case, a lot of times that does go back to logo and colors, that first design kind of piece of it. But keeping that tone consistent throughout. And then visuals, if you're doing YouTube, even the thumbnails on your YouTube videos, for instance, and your social media posts always match the brand, the colors, the logo, that sort of thing. Now, another one that that is more difficult to deal with early on in a business is customer experience. Obviously, you're in the middle of building a business, trying to get this ramped up, get it bigger and bigger. And early on, we don't have SOPs. Maybe we don't have a great team together yet, or the team doesn't have the experience to know how to handle different situations related to customers. So a lot of times as business owners, we're so focused on just growing and selling that we're not focusing on delivering whatever we promised, right? And that tends to fall off, especially, in the, I would say, if you're doing less than $500,000, something like that tends to be in that kind of case where you're really struggling you're great at selling, but you're horrible at delivery. Donovan, did you have a
I
question?
did. I love this part. It's putting one of the biggest thing as an executive coach that I talk to business owners and other folks about is put yourself in your customer's shoes. Because if you're only seeing the world from your point of view, you're not seeing the whole world. When you step inside their shoes, especially when it comes to branding and how they're seeing you, then everything will change for you. And as long as you're looking from that way forward, just like we do everything, we begin with the end in mind. See it from the customer's experience and what are they expecting as they get through. So I love what you're doing here.
Yeah, that's great. Typically, as business owners, we're not good at follow through. That's just a trait that most business owners seem to have. So we're great at selling the deal and getting it all done, but then when it comes to actually like providing the service that we sold, sometimes we're not great at that. But it needs to be on our radar. Our house got hit by the tornado back in March, and we're just now getting our siding on our house this week. And they came and they put 2/3 of the siding on, and they've been gone for 3 days. And no word from the ops manager, no word from anybody. So, as a business owner, I'm like, okay, am I doing this to my clients as well? Am I just kind of ghosting them or not communicating? So trying to obviously want to get them back out here to finish the job, but at the same time, using that as a learning experience for myself and for my business. So neglecting that customer experience can be huge for you. And from the digital side, it can turn into 1 and 2 star reviews, which can really hurt your business, especially in the top of the funnel when you're trying to get new customers in and they're seeing these poor reviews, right? So having that system in place, obviously a big part of it. So thank you for your input there, Donovan.
So I'm thinking with the customer experience that you're like thinking like pretty far in where you're already you were talking about like 500,000 or something like that, where you've already done enough, so you have some skills, and you're the business owner, and at that point, the question is whether you like created the environment so that the customer experience could be valued or promoted, as opposed to taking care of it yourself. And so that's like something that you should have done, like, a long time previous,
Yeah.
and it's either there or not. But then you're having to think about it because you're getting the results back.
Exactly right. Yeah, yeah. And as you continue to hire and bring on people, making sure that you're able to express that to the new people that you're bringing on, that are maybe replacing isn't the right word, but well, I guess they are replacing that piece of the work that you were probably doing in the past, and helping you take care of that. So making sure that they understand that piece of it as well, so that obviously the results don't go down. A lot of times, and I only mentioned the 500,000 because I've seen it happen a lot, where it seems like at that 40K point, when you're making around 40K a month, balls start to get dropped. And things just start to break, and SOPs suddenly stop working, right? There are these different break points as you're building your business. That seems to be one that I notice a lot. So just being aware of that, and making sure that from the customer standpoint, they're happy and the communication is always continuing through. So another one is spending on ads before defining the brand. Uh, this can be really big, especially when you got your business. You're like, we need more customers, right? And then you just start going out there and blasting ads. And there's countless conversations I've had with people when I ask them about, have you spent any money on Google Ads? Oh yeah, we tried that and it didn't work. How much did you spend? Well, I spent $2,000 and Google just took my money, right? But not having that brand in place, not having um, the landing pages, some of those things built, and having those in place, and the ad sent, making sure everything matches as you go, can really kind of set you back. If you're not ready for that, I wouldn't recommend that you spend on the ads before having that stuff built out, because at the end of the day, if that's their first interaction with your business, you want them to leave that interaction feeling good, right? And feeling more positive than negative, right? So making sure that that branding is in place. And then if you have some other follow-up techniques in place, that if they get a postcard from you a couple days later, right? Or they get an email from you, or whatever that happens to be, that they have that check mark in their mind. They're like, oh, okay, I remember this. I know who this is, that kind of thing. And it all just kind of flows through. But having the pieces in place before you start to get people raising their hands can really help. So let's talk about some things that we put together that I think can probably help you from the branding side, that you don't need a huge budget to kind of pull off. So one of the things that's really cool, and you can do this with pretty much any business, is to create some sort of a villain. In this example, it's simply burnt coffee beans, right? And we're not a corporation. We're probably a family related business. Having those things that you stand for, and using those things that you stand for in a way that portrays you as being different, such as no burnt beans. I mean, who wants that, right? It's like smelling burnt popcorn in the break room, right? Nobody wants that. So people will unite faster, when they know what you don't stand for, not just what you do stand for. So amplifying some of those, I wouldn't call them negatives, but villains, probably the right word. Just amplifying them in a way that doesn't become overly negative, but still helps you start to stand apart. Turning weaknesses into strengths, limitations can be a good thing. If you've read the book Influence by Robert Cialdini, he talks about this, and he talks about scarcity. Scarcity can be an advantage for you if you're only able to handle so much. Now, there does become a time when, like, this guy only take 2 clients a day. Well, if you want to build your business, you're going to have to figure out a way to double that, right? So having the ability to hire additional people comes on, but you're limiting some things that you offer in a certain way that kind of elevates your overall brand can really help your business grow and, again, set yourself apart. Share your process, not just your product. So back to the over communicating. I would definitely rather any business over communicate than under communicate. As my siding example portrays, right? It would be better to get a little bit too much from them and be informed versus not knowing what's going on. And then there's also a note here that people buy from people. So ultimately, we are looking at brand. Brand is part of the decision process. And do we know, trust, and like this brand? But at the end of the day, you're probably talking to a person that is going to take that sale, and complete that transaction for you. Maybe in the barbecue example, maybe you have a failed recipe Friday, right? Of things that maybe didn't work out the right way that you wanted it to, but just sharing some of those different things can be a lot of fun as well. And then turning your customers into a community. This is an easy one to say, hard one to accomplish, right? Building a Facebook group for whatever business you're in can be fairly difficult. In this particular example, they stamp the anchor on everything, right? These different symbols become part of a community. And again, brand recognition for this particular, I guess, a soap company maybe. But the idea here is having something that you can consistently keep in front of customers that they start to recognize your brand. When I said Coca-Cola earlier, I would assume in most of your heads you saw the red with the white lettering, right? That's the first thing that comes to your mind in that particular case. So having some sort of I guess a symbol, maybe not your logo, but maybe something related to your brand can always help as well. Make customers the hero. This is a fantastic way to both amplify your customers and get more people into the top of the funnel again, right? People love to see these real customer results, these real customer journeys, case studies, things like that, that you can really show, here's how we took this brand from, $500 to, now doing 10 grand a month, something like that. And showcasing those with the customer's permission, of course, can really help an overall brand really grow, and it becomes a shareable thing. It becomes something that people really can understand, love, and engage with. Break routine on purpose. I like this one. This is probably one that we do fairly often is some silly stuff just to keep us away from being so corporate and adding in some light humor. I saw an ad that we had put together a couple of weeks ago about, don't let marketing spook you. And it had the whole Halloween theme, that kind of stuff. Still on brand, still on point, but added a little bit of humor into it, or surprise. I love the dogs doing the work here. That's a great one. Predictable is forgettable. That's fantastic. Always kind of doing something a little bit different where people, even for that brief second when they're scrolling through Facebook, that they see that and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's related to that brand, and off they go, right? All those little check marks in their head can work to your advantage. People also remember legacy and meaning. So if you have a family business that's been around for a long time, or if you even bought somebody's business that had been around for a long time, making sure that you're taking the time to share that piece of your information. Obviously on like your About Us page on your website, but even in some of the other branding that you do, maybe that's part of the logo. Maybe it has that older look and feel because of that brand lore. And that could be something that you really lean on, that we've been around for a long time, right? Or my grandfather was a mechanic or a welder in this particular case. And we've just continued this tradition of being the best in town. Those stories can really last, where the logo and some of that other stuff can obviously fade as time goes on. Now, if you are going to polarize, just be careful. We've seen plenty of brands that did this terribly wrong. So you want to be a little bit careful. You definitely want to set yourself apart from here's what we stand for. But you also don't want to be the one that's, cutting yourself off at the knees because of this. So have those clear values, make sure that they're documented, make sure that they're shared with your in your different advertising and branding and different touch points that you have with potential customers or prospects. And I like this. If you want shortcuts, I'm not your guy. That sets you apart from the Craigslist shoppers and the tire kickers and those types of people, right? It elevates you, and it also filters out people who are just shopping specifically on those things. So some branding on a budget ideas. Some of these you guys may have already heard of, and I'd love to get some feedback on these. Canva is canva.com. Canva has overtaken the world, especially around Photoshop related things. Photoshop used to be really the only option. Canva has come a long way when it comes to building graphics and designs. This presentation is built in Canva. And it's very versatile, very easy to deal with. And they have a free version, then they have a pro version. I don't think the pro version's terribly expensive, to be honest. CapCut, anybody familiar with CapCut? CapCut is great for if you're shooting video related to your business and you want to get those little captions at the bottom, which everybody loves nowadays, right? It's almost required to have those when you're doing social and that kind of stuff. CapCut is a great tool for that. Lets you upload those videos, chop off the ends where you messed up and the cough in the middle, and then does your transcription there, puts those captions in there. Fantastic little tool. ChatGPT, anybody playing around with ChatGPT yet? Donovan is. Sean, you haven't. Okay, interesting. I would encourage you to get in there and just open it up and start having some conversations with it. A little weird at first that you're like talking to a computer, but you can really shortcut some great things. I wouldn't use it as the end all for the output that it gives you, but it definitely has a lot of learning and is able to steer you in directions a lot of times that maybe things that you didn't think of or other ways to attack a problem. So definitely recommend. Obviously, there's others. ChatGPT is the big one. Gemini is the Google one, and I can't remember the
Copilot is Microsoft's like 365
Copilot.
version.
Copilot. Yep. We had a client just today that got a lead from Copilot, which is crazy insane. But using those tools to, first of all, here's who I am. Here's what I do. Here's a link to my website. Tell me what you know about me. That's always fun. And then does my business provide this thing, right? It could be a yes or no answer, and just ask it what it thinks about that. That would help you understand how the internet overall is seeing your brand, which can really help. And then you could also go into, here's a competitor of mine. Tell me if there's any gaps in our brand versus theirs. That's a fantastic exercise to start to go through. And again, we're not going to steal from them, but we're looking for opportunity where maybe they're missing or not doing something well, and you can kind of position yourself in that way. MailerLite, Growth Harbor, Constant Contact, MailChimp, these programs that build out email campaigns for you can really be a fantastic way to get started for super cheap. Build that list up and then just start to reach out to them, even if it's just once a month. Have some sort of, I guess you could call it a newsletter. Ultimately, that's what it is. But nobody wants to sign up for your newsletter, right? Nobody wants to do that. But if you're providing value to people that are maybe prospects of yours, and you do that once a month through email, when the time comes, you're going to be more top of mind to them just because you were touching them at least that once a month through one of these different systems. Sean, Donovan, I see Jim's on here too. What do you guys do, like email marketing type stuff now for your business?
I don't. This is Jim. I don't use email
Hey,
right
Jim.
now.
Okay.
I haven't started a business. I have one from many years back that is just for
Okay.
development, but the one that I'm kind of discussing isn't something that's currently active yet.
Okay. Okay.
As an executive coach, I do. But like at VetBiz, because I'm board chair for the organization, one of the things that we're looking at starting to do is we have a list of folks that we've been communicating with in the past, and we're looking at expanding that out. So this is a good.
Awesome. Yeah. It's an easy way, low or free, barrier to entry, uh, very little friction to get into somebody's email box. Then the problem becomes, did they open it, right? How well did you write your subject line? Those kinds of things. But these are great tools that you can use either way, just to stay top of mind at the end of the day for your business.
I have a question.
Yeah, go
This
ahead.
is Jim. So if you're talking about like an email newsletter, is there a way that you could integrate whatever ChatGPT, Gemini into one of these tools to just say, hey, this is my brand, this is my message. Every 30 days, I want you to fire up an email that's my brand and kick it out to these customers, just hands off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. You can definitely do that. I would definitely recommend you still use the human element to go through and make sure what it output was correct.
Okay.
But yeah, you can do that. I've written a book.
Copilot
that-
365 is like constantly offering to like develop forms and like processes and like so like there's a lot that they can do, but
Yeah.
it's been really helpful when I already had like a good functional knowledge, and then when it develops, like we kind of work together. But the standalones, I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what are you using to tie in your AI with your newsletter or your contact CRM, whatever you want to call it?
Is
Uh,
that for Sean?
from what I was listening, it sounded like the Chat GPT was good for kind of like a brand penetration testing to see what the internet knows about your organization. So for a newsletter, you could kind of use it as kind of, I don't know, like brainstorming or something. I don't know where to make that jump, but it would
Yeah.
be similar where it can do a lot of the work and you're trying to use it to kind of figure out what information is out there. So you're trying to like
Right.
create forks in the road.
Right. But I mean, there has to be some kind of tool, some kind of go between, like if this, then that. Uh, I mean, I could do the research myself. I just thought of maybe you guys had already farmed out some kind of solution for that where it's truly hands off. Where, I mean, I know Jim and I can create these newsletters for me, keep it on brand, all that stuff, but then I have to go into MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever and transpose it, just kind of swivel seat that into an actual message, send, et cetera. I wanted to see
Yeah.
if you
So
guys.
Jim, what you're talking about, you're right. Because I've used that with a couple of the CRMs that I've investigated in the past, where you can actually schedule. So like you can create like the next 6 months worth of content or whatever, and you can schedule it to go out so that you don't have to physically go in there and kick off each one or anything like that. And you go in like Will's talking about and just make sure that it's all stating what you want it to state, it's following what you want it to do, and then you can schedule it. And so then all you're doing is you're getting an alert because you're one of the people on your email list and you're getting the same email everybody is on the consistency that you're wanting to do it. Because that way you make sure that you're not over flooding. And within the CRM, if you're tagging the stuff, like you said in MailChimp or whatever, it should be coming back around so you know whenever they've clicked on it and it becomes this complete ecosystem.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I hear what you're saying too, and that sounds like it would work too, but that's still, it requires some kind of human intervention to say, yes, I'm going to go ahead and stack up these next 6 months worth of emails or whatever. But,
It
just,
can. Yeah, it can. Some of the systems like ChatGPT obviously is the leader in this. Some of them can start to talk to some third-party CRMs and things like that. So at the end of the day, you could make that connection, create your newsletter in GPT, for example, and say, okay, send this out for October, or something like that.
yeah.
And it would be able to dump that content, understand the different elements in your template for your newsletter so that you're logo's always at the top and you're always, it's always using the 12-point Arial font, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So definitely possible, and getting a lot better. I think we're obviously very early into the AI thing, but
Yeah.
I have seen some of these connections where where GPT in particular can start to talk to some of these third-party services.
Okay, man. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hijack it.
No, that's great. That's fantastic. So hopefully that answers your question.
It does.
And it leads perfectly into this, right? Having that template built, if you are using AI or if you're just wanting to copy and paste from GPT, or you just want to write your own guidelines or newsletter or whatever it happens to be, building some sort of a brand kit is a great first step. And this, again, is something that ChatGPT or Copilot or any of these can help you start to do. They're getting a lot better. GPT, I know, is getting a lot better with graphics as well. So you can upload some examples of some graphics that you like. Maybe if you're wanting to build out your logo, here are some ideas that I like. Help me start to come up with brainstorm ideas around building my own logo. Here's what we do. Here's what we stand for. Here's what I have in mind for a logo, but give me other options. But starting to build out some sort of a brand kit. Basically, this is the font we always use. These are our colors. Mission statement or core values is the EOS term for that. And then, of course, a tone guide, very important as well. So are we always warm, or are we always a little bit quirky, or how do we always come across to potential customers is an important piece of that as well. So when it comes to AI, here's just a simple prompt. I need you to help me create a simple, clear brand kit for my small business. Ask me questions one at a time. And I love that phrase, one at a time. If you don't say that to ChatGPT, it's gonna come back with 30 questions for you. So just simply saying, ask me these one at a time. And then after each answer, update what we're talking about and ask me the next question. That can really help keep your overwhelm to a minimum on GPT because it is so fast. And make sure that you're telling it use plain language and keep everything beginner friendly. Obviously, as you continue to use these different services, you can start to get a little bit more technical. But just giving it some information from the start about your business, asking it to start to help you build some of these things can really start to set you apart and help you build that brand guide.
That note that I'm seeing at the bottom left where we can access the full prompt on our digital copy handout, that's a thing for this session as well.
Yep, I've got a QR code here in just a second. Yep, that has a list to a lot of these things.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So as we wrap up, I just wanted to kind of talk about brand mission. So obviously, VetBiz has a brand mission of providing business information for veterans. I love how specific that is, how niche that is. And it's a great example for all of us when it comes to what is that brand mission and what is the reason for us to be building a business or starting a business in the first place. So any questions around obviously brand mission, anything else that I covered? I want to make sure you guys have some great ammunition to move forward. Jim?
I don't have any questions right now. I know I will in the
Okay.
future, though. So
Okay.
I do all my best thinking alone, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I guess my last question is essentially like we're talking about brand, we're talking about customers, we're talking about kind of like things that we're targeting or brand mission. Like, what are different ways that like you might think about things other than your intended demographic? So like instead of like what you're intending, like how do I keep my blind sides clean? You know?
Sure. Can you give me like an example of what you think might come up in that kind of scenario?
So, um, if you're thinking technology, I guess, right? And each decade, each generation has like a different relationship with various technologies. You have different
Yeah.
apps that are going to be for people that were 20 years ago, or people who grew up with something else. Um, And I guess the idea is if you're using a brand one way. So like old school HTML, CSS, right? The scariest thing that I can remember when trying to even toy with my first website, the only website I've ever really worked on, was trying to create the different settings for all the devices, and then update. And it gave me this sense of futility. Like you had to have a large organization. Otherwise, why were you going to do it in the first place?
Sure.
Now that I think that's a little more standardized or easier to navigate. But in the same way with branding, you might just not want, and it's more possible now, I think, I get the impression, to have your brand be like kind of uniform. Like you might want to be able to find like these very general characteristics that you're able to target and just say, no, you don't even see this if you're in these different demographics.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
kind of jumped in a lot there, so I'll let you figure out what you actually.
Yeah, I think I got the idea. So this probably comes down to some exercises around building personas for who your potential customers are. If we think of a great example I heard of, I mentioned Photoshop earlier. Adobe was really good with this, where they built different personas of how people used Photoshop, right? And they had Julie, for instance, who was a business owner that used it to create graphics for her business, right? That would be Julie. Then they had John, who was just a worker, graphics worker at a corporation. So what they would do is build these different personas. How does this person engage with our brand? How does this person engage with our products? That kind of stuff. When they would go into a meeting about something related to a Photoshop change, they would say, okay, who are we talking about today? Are we talking about Julie? Are we talking about John? Are we talking about Fred? And everything in that conversation was focused specifically on that particular persona. So ultimately, they all engaged with the brand in a different way, but still the brand consistency stayed the same. Does that make sense? Does that kind of answer your question? Different generations, different types of people, different psychographics. They're all still going to engage with the brand just in different ways.
So when I'm doing the work, I'm kind of creating these personas that I'm developing for, so that I have something, and then you kind
Yeah.
of find the results and then work your way back.
Yep. Typically, that's a pretty early on exercise to build. It could be 3, it could be 4, it could be 5 different types of what we call personas or avatars related to how people engage with your business or potentially could engage with your product, your services, that kind of thing. And then once you have those kind of built out and in place, then that'll help direct some of your other things, like the way that you write your ads, the way that you create different content on your site, the way that you answer questions related to things. So yeah, definitely would highly recommend a persona exercise early on. All right. Any other questions? Jim, you did mention that you do a lot of your best thinking alone. There's a book called The Road Less Stupid, which is all about thinking. I would recommend you check that book out if you haven't read it yet. The Audible is great too. It's a Southern business owner guy. He's got the little bit of the twang, and just listening to the Audible is a lot of fun. So
Okay, man, I appreciate that. I'll check it out. What was the name of it again? One more time.
The Road Less Stupid.
Sounds fitting. Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
But it's all about that alone thinking time and some of the different things that you can work out in your head as you go. So it just came to my mind because you mentioned that. So
All right, man. Appreciate it.
yeah, yeah. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys. One of the things that I think is very true is you don't need a big budget. You just need a clear mission and a very consistent story overall that will move the needle and get you going in the right direction. Sean, here's that QR code. This will take you to this presentation today, but also some resources that could help you. I'd also recommend just going to Google and typing in like something like persona creation worksheet, something like that will probably get you in the right direction for that as well.
Awesome.
So I have a
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a
Yeah,
question about the whole persona thing. So my name is Jackie, by the way.
Hi, Jackie.
I'm not sure what my name shows up as. It looks like Thedo.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the dog bone. So
Oh,
I own an all natural dog treat company.
okay.
And we've been in business for we just celebrated our 9th year in
Okay.
business,
Congrats.
but you know, we're on the smaller side. We do this out of our home, and you know, every so often we meet, we do a lot of vendor events where like craft fairs and whatnot.
Okay. Yeah.
And we meet other vendors who are like, oh, we did some rebranding and we're doing so much better, this and that. And, you know, every so often I look at my logo and whatnot, and I go, yeah, I'm not changing that. Like I did a lot of
Sure.
work on that in the beginning. What's your thought on, I know, you know, don't change your logo and rebrand, you know, too often, but,
Right.
you know, how often would you suggest actually maybe talking to a professional, if you will, about looking at your brand?
Yeah, this may be a question for Donovan. I would say if you have a brand that you love and it's on point, I absolutely love Red Canoe Media. I think it's great. I love the colors. I love the red and the black, and uh, it's going to be a hard road to try to talk me out of this, right?
Right.
But it's because I love it so much, and it sounds like you're in a similar situation. So maybe
Yes.
it's not something that needs to be on your radar at all, or maybe it's not the logo piece of it, but maybe it's your colors or your fonts, or, you know, maybe there's some freshening up that you can do versus a full on rebrand. I think that might be good exercise for you nonetheless.
Gotcha.
Donovan, any other insight there?
No, I think from a coach's perspective, you said it exactly right. It's based on you and what's happening in the environment. There's no set timeline. There's no set whatever. My first company that I ran for 25 years, we rebranded, I think, 5 times during that, and there was no set. It was because the industry changed, and it was because of what we were doing. We started off doing web development and stuff like that in the late 90s, early 2000s. Then we went into software development, and then we went into IT management consulting. Then we went into all the latest, greatest stuff and all this stuff. And so our brand changes. And I really love what's really cool. You can look at some of there's a there's a website called the Internet History Project. I don't know if you ever heard of it. And it's really cool because it'll show you the history of a website all the way back for 25 years.
Yeah.
And you can actually go look at like the Coca-Cola brand and what they've done. You can look at your competitors and stuff like that. And even like mine, I love going in there about once a year and just seeing the progression of my business through there. So it's pretty cool. So the reality is it's up to you. And if you like it and it resonates with your customers, then keep it. And then at some point, take a look at it and just re-engage with your customers to say, is this still resonating with the mission that we're trying to portray?
Awesome. Thank you. I have one other question.
Yeah.
Is it bad that I really don't care what my competitors are doing?
I don't think so. No,
Okay.
I think it's what is this? What is the phrase? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So I definitely think there's something to be said about at least having them on your radar and knowing kind of what they're up to is probably a smart move on your part. But ultimately, listen, if you're full steam ahead and you just want to build this thing as big as possible, then I would stay on that focus, but don't forget about those dogs that are biting at your heels, right?
Well, yeah, right. So this is the thing, is that over the years, because we grew, this was an unintentional business. Like I was a real estate agent. I just started making trades for our own dogs. It just went boof.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Which is great, and now it's myself, my husband, and one of our sons.
Okay.
And so all of that being said, like I find that as I talk to people, they're like, oh, well, do you know what your competitors are doing? And my gut reaction is I don't care. And mostly because I know that what we're doing is different.
Yeah.
And most people are like, okay, even if you just look at my logo, it says natural grain-free treats. And everybody's like, well, what makes you grain-free? We use organic coconut flour. The minute I say that, everybody's like, huh, never heard of that,
Yeah.
And so I just like to get people's take on, I guess, my
Yeah,
attitude about, I just don't
I,
care. I
I,
don't care what they're doing.
I think the answer that you might be looking for is in a story by Simon Sinek, and I'll do this very quickly because I know we're coming short on time. But Simon Sinek is a leadership coach that I like to follow, and he tells a story of how within 1 week he was given the opportunity to give a keynote speech at Microsoft and at Apple. And he gave the speech at Microsoft first, and they gave him, for those of us that are old enough, the old Zune. So when the MP3 players were coming out, Microsoft came up with the Zune, and they gave him one for free. And then the next week he gives the speech at and he says, you know, when I was at Microsoft giving the keynote or whatever, they were always about what's Apple doing, what's Apple doing, how do we beat Apple, all this other stuff. And then about 4 or 5 days later, he goes to the national convention for Apple, and he said it was weird. The entire time he was there, Microsoft was never mentioned. And of course, they were coming out with their MP3 player, which the Zune, if you guys remember, was way better. It was easier to use. It was all this other stuff. So he turns to the VP of product development in a cab ride home, and he says, "Hey, you know, I got to tell you that I went to the Microsoft convention, and they gave me a product, and it's much better than yours." And he said it was the weirdest thing that the VP answered back, which is very simply, "I have no doubt." I have no doubt that their product is better. In other words, we don't care what their product is doing because we know what we're doing. We know what our brand stands for, and it's what we're going for. So I hope
Right.
that's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Thank you.
I
Love
mean,
that.
Apple was building the hardware from scratch, and then all the software they didn't have, Microsoft had. So it isn't the same thing. But and all that. Anyways,
Yeah,
I'll
follow
back out.
your
I
brand,
liked the
follow
story. It was fun.
yeah, follow your brand, follow your mission, and you'll see success. And if you're having trouble reaching the success, then maybe then you can look at what your competitors are doing because co-opetition is a huge thing. You're going after a customer base, they're going after a customer base, but you may not be doing the same one. So use your brand to get you to where you need to get to.
I have to say that I think that the hardest part is when you talk about the persona aspect of things. Yeah, I have like the world. So really because we have the opportunity to blow this up in a way that, I probably can't even comprehend. And all the feedback we get from our customers, I mean, right now I have over a 5,000 customer base, and all the feedback we get is fabulous. I mean, more people tell me it's like crack to their dogs, which is, kind of, I certainly don't want to promote that, but it's just funny because I hear it from multiple people. They're like, my dogs just love these, and like if I go to the pantry, they know they're in there. They go nuts. Okay, great. But when you talk about the persona aspect of things, like I don't know that I could drill down on any one persona. I sell to dog show people. I sell to pet parents. I sell to, we have wholesale accounts. So
Yeah.
I have this whole, I kind of I get a
Yeah.
little bogged down, if you will, with not really being able to drill down on any one.
Yeah. I'd encourage you to do two things. I'd encourage you to find a persona workshop or worksheet online. And then maybe first step to that is to put together, and maybe it's use ChatGPT to put together a list of questions that you would like answered related to your brand, and what you do. What are the things you like about our biscuits? What are the things you don't like? Do you not like the packaging? What do you think of our logo? I think doing some sort of a survey would give you a fantastic head start. And then I'd also challenge you on the persona. There definitely are some specific personas for you. Obviously, one is they probably have to have a dog, right? You can't really sell to cat owners. So now you're segmented already. And then you segment down into they're probably interested in not buying Walmart dog food, right? They want something that's higher quality, the buffalo or whatever that one is.
Blue buffalo. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the type of stuff they buy, right? And that's their persona from a psychographic standpoint, and even a demographic standpoint. Maybe they're higher income type buyers. So there's definitely ways to drill down, and I would definitely encourage you to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you guys for your time today. Here's some stuff about me. I appreciate the opportunity to do another Vet Biz presentation, and always happy to help you guys, and would love to help you in any way that I can. These are ways that you can reach me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Will. I know it was a great presentation because there's a lot of interaction and there's a lot of questions. And I was sitting
That's
back
great.
here listening to it all go down. So thank you, Will, for sharing your time, your expertise, your insights with us today. Thank you to everyone who joined us, or those of you that may be watching later on recording on YouTube if we put it out there, for this session, Marketing Your Mission, Branding on a Budget. We're always happy to leave here with practical ideas and inspiration to help you strengthen your brand and grow your business. And I was just listening in. I think we can provide a lot of value. You know, us here on the call today, our mission is to empower veterans, service members, and military spouses to start, grow, and succeed in business from idea to exit. So whether you're just getting started or you have those customers already to take that next big step, our team is here to support you every step of the way with training, one-on-one business counseling. So talking about things like personas, target marketing, things like that, and connection to trusted local partners and local resources like Will. If you'd like to learn more or connect with us, visit vetbiz.com or follow us on LinkedIn to stay up on our future trainings and events. And again, thank you for being here. Special thank you to Will Hanke for sharing his valuable takeaways. And we look forward to seeing you at our next Vet Biz event or webinar.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks,
Awesome.
everyone.
You guys
Thanks,
have a good
guys.
day.
And thank you for adding in military spouses. I appreciate that.
Of course.